When I flew into Kabul on the 8th of June, the city was on high alert. Just a week prior to my arrival, a massive explosion in the Wazir-Akhbar-Khan area, right in the center of Kabul, had killed more than 100 people. Terrorists had placed a bomb inside a tanker which crossed several checkpoints and then exploded. It was carnage, and no one claimed responsibility. A few days later, suicide attackers infiltrated the funeral for the victims and they blew themselves up, killing 7 more people. Many high-ranking politicians were attending the funeral, including Abdullah, Afghanistan's CEO. That attack carried the stark message: no place in Kabul is safe. Anger and sorrow swept the city. People took to the streets demanding that President Ashraf Ghani's government provide at least security to its citizens. But matters got out of hands, as it always happens in Afghanistan. Protesters put up tents across Kabul. Their intentions seemed peaceful, but Kabul is a volatile city full of weapons and informal militias. We met with them, with the protesters. Take a look at this report.
Anger and fear are growing on the streets of Kabul. After the recent bombs, the people took to the street to protest against the lack of security in the country. Things turned violent very quickly though, and police forces started shooting against the crowd. 9 people died and several were injured. But protesters did not surrender, and they have now transformed their demonstrations in stable sit-ins all across the city. There are at least 6 big tents where people gather to speak and chant during the day. They are demanding more security.
The government should be careful about us, and they should take the security of us. But the government is not careful of us.
It is not only about security though. Their adversity for President Ghani is very clear. When we reach one of the tents, Hangiza Habibia is speaking to a small crowd. She agrees to meet us outside to speak more on the matter.
میکنیم بیایم ما را دوباره شهید میسازن. ایره به خاطر از ما آمدیم که خون برادر ما در زمین نمانه. دوباره به خاطر از عدالت خواهی میکنیم. کی ضمانت میکنه که روز بعدی ما شهید نمیشیم؟ کی ضمانت میکنه که بعد از این ما آرام زندگی میکنیم؟ امنیت و صلح در کشور ما میاد. ما به خاطر از خیمه عدالت خواهی را دستاخیز تغییر برای انداختیم. خب ما تا وقت از که حق ما را بتن و حداقل پاسخی به سوالای ما داشته باشن ما اینجا باشیم. ولو که 1 ماه باشه، ولو که 1 سال باشه، ولو که
In all the tents we visit during the day, the request is always the same. President Ghani and the CEO Abdullah must leave immediately. Amin is 24 years old and has been protesting since the very beginning. His voice is one of the many to express this request.
ما از خواست ما همیست که حکومت نتانست که به خواستهای مردم حکومت وحدت ملی کار کنه و مردم هر روز قربانی میده، جوانا، نیروهای امنیتی، مردم. میگم ما خواستم از حکومت همی است که رئیس جمهور و رئیس اجرایی استعفا بدن، حکومت موقت ایجاد شود تا بتونه به خواستهای مردم جوابگو باشه.
Protesters say they do not belong to any political party, but the level of organization makes it very difficult to believe that there is no one behind them. The Jamiat-e-Islami political party, led by the Foreign Affairs Minister Salahuddin Rabbani, for instance, has openly supported the demonstrations, criticizing the government for their inability to keep the country safe. There is also an ethnic element to this protest. The people we met in almost all the tents were majorly from the Panjshir Valley, a territory which traditionally opposes the prominent political role of the Pashtus, of which President Ashraf Ghani is expression. For the time being, the protesters have absolutely no intention to move the tents and to abandon their battles.
Behind me we can see one of the several tents that the people of Kabul have decided to put up after the deadly attack that happened within the heart of the city and killed and injured hundreds of people. They are requesting the current government to leave. They think that the government and the high security officers are not capable to grant their safety. All the people protesting are firm in saying that they will not move their tents until and unless the government will welcome and accept all their requests. Daniele Pagani from Kabul for WION. The people have every right to to be concerned about the plummeting situation. The Taliban are advancing. They control nearly half of the country. And the Islamic State is becoming more and more aggressive. Their operational base is now in the Nangarhar province, which is a small province on the east, on the border with Pakistan. It takes them only 3 hours to drive to the Orakzai agency, a safe haven they have in Pakistan. And there is nothing to stop them. The area is mountainous, isolated, and the border is easily crossed. But who's fighting in the ranks for the Islamic State in Afghanistan? Some are former Taliban, unhappy with the current leadership, but there are also elements from the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, a very dangerous group with more than 2 decades of activity. 2 years back, the Islamic State managed to recruit nearly 4,000 fighters in Afghanistan. With money coming from Iraq and Syria, recruiters in Afghanistan were roaming around the country to offer salaries to whoever was willing to join them. But the Islamic State is now decimated. After losing control of oil fields in Syria and Iraq, the flow of money is down to a trickle. But their willingness to fight remains pretty strong.
In Afghanistan, the Islamic State of Khorasan attacked and conquered large parts of the mountain area of Torabora in the Nangarhar province. After a few days of fighting, they pushed back the Taliban forces. Hundreds of families ran away, fearing the Islamic State brutality.
Then the Taliban reached to IS leaders in Nangarhar to convince them to pledge allegiance to Taliban. But that didn't happen actually, and then the Taliban deployed a large number of fighters to go and to fight against IS in Nangarhar and to prevent them from expanding their influence all over the province. But this fighting or ongoing fighting is not new. It has been happening in the past, and it will continue for the future as well.
President Ashraf Ghani ordered the army to start the offensive against the Islamic State stronghold as soon as possible. Torabora is a strategic place. It is a system of interconnected bunkers located in a mountain area. It is a natural fortress, militarily nearly impossible to penetrate from the ground. The Afghan Islamic State already controlled parts of the Nangarhar province, but now they are solidly positioned on the border with Pakistan. This means they control many smuggling trails and they can bring into Afghanistan more weapons, more ammunition, more explosives that they can buy on the Pakistani black market. It is definitely a hard blow for Afghanistan, a country which is currently facing security challenges coming from every front. Torabora has a strong symbolic value. It was once Al-Qaeda's headquarters in Afghanistan. This new victory could convince young disillusioned Talibans to join the Islamic State. And this could become a problem for the entire South Asia. Unlike the Taliban, the Islamic State plan is to cross Afghanistan's border in order to establish a caliphate over the region.
The security situation in Afghanistan is plummeting day by day. The government is very fragile and under extreme pressure. The Taliban keep advancing, and now the Islamic State managed to conquer the mountains of Torabora on the border with Pakistan, strengthening their position in the country. But a strong Islamic State in Afghanistan needs to worry the entire South Asia, where the terrorist organization wants to implement a big caliphate, and it's ready to bring more violence, more attacks, and more terror in all the countries. Daniele Pagani for WION from Kabul. But let's go back to Kabul for a moment. Going by first impressions, everything would appear normal in the city. Shops were open, the markets were buzzing with commerce everywhere. The smell and taste of iftar pervaded, but the tension was also discernible. In Kabul, anything can happen at any moment, without a warning. And so it was. 2 suicide bombers penetrated the Al-Zahra mosque when it was crowded with Shia worshippers. Clearly, the holy month of Ramazan was no deterrent for them. I decided to reach the mosque at dawn shortly after the attack to better understand what happened. Security forces were still on the spot. The attackers moved like a commando team. They reached, they shot dead police and other guards at the gate before storming into the mosque.
اول خیمه 2 نفر بود. یک مرمی از اینجا که اینجا فایر کرد دفتن بود دفعه دوم دیگهش کرد مرمی که زد هر دوش در آمد داخل مسجد ما میشته بودیم بغل.
The first attacker managed to enter through the main gate and blew himself up. The second one used the side gate, reached the kitchen and then detonated his belt.
ابراهیم یکی از جمله خادمین از این مسجد الزهرا است. ما دیشب 2 تا انتحاری اینمی قسمت ساتای 15 کم 9 بود که در آمد. من پیش بودم اینا از پشت سر من می آمدن. اما لحظه ای که در آمدن هم یک دانه بچه جوان بود فهمیدن نمیشد. مقصد تفنگچه در دستش بود. اینم از یک سر می تفنگچه اولین کاری که کردن اینا فقط اینمی اسکرا را زدن کدی مرمی. بعد از کد مرمی زدن که خلاص شدن داخل میخواستن که داخل مسجد شون. داخل مسجد نشدن از بالا بچه‌ها فایر کردن سر از اینا یک دو یکیش این طرف فرار کردن یکی دیگهش از داخل در آمد. وقتی که داخل در آمد داخل سن چی شدن نمی‌بینه.
Once again, terrorists had killed innocents on the street of Kabul, a city living perpetually in fear and always on edge.
Day by day, the situation is very bad. So every day we have casualties, too much casualties in Afghanistan. So we don't have any good security in Afghanistan.
And this is not the first time Shia believers have come under attack. The growing presence of the Islamic State in Afghanistan and in the South Asian region has also meant more attacks on Shias. Take a look at the numbers. In March 2017, 22 killed in a blast in Shia mosque in Pakistan. On February 2017, 72 Sufi Muslims were killed in an attack in Pakistan. In November 2016, 30 died in a bombing of Shia mosque in Kabul. And in October 2016, 14 were killed by gunmen in strike on Shia shrine in Kabul. Insecurity holds its grip over the Afghan capital, but it is the entire country which suffers the most.
Security situation has been deteriorated here, not this year. It's since 2014, mainly since 2014. And it's mainly due to withdrawal of international forces, due to low capacity of Afghan national security forces.
I'm standing right now where the attack happened at 9 p.m. yesterday night in Kabul. Behind me there is a Shia mosque where people, where believers were gathered in order to celebrate the Night of Power, which happens 3 nights every second day during the month of Ramzan. At least 6 people died and 10 were injured. A suicide bomber blew himself inside the mosque and another one reached. Also, at least one of the guards who were guarding the mosque got killed in the attack. This is yet another attack against the Shia community in a city, Kabul, which is becoming more and more dangerous every day. Daniele Pagani from Kabul for WION. Blasts, explosions, indiscriminate killings have become part of Afghan life since many decades. Terrorist organizations regularly resort to the use of improvised explosive devices, and there are still hundreds of thousands of landmines strewn all over the country. But Afghanistan has also become an international center of excellence in managing these sort of risks. Deminers have succeeded in removing more than 70% of these deadly weapons, and they are also now training dogs to sniff out IEDs. Here's a little-known story about how dedicated teams at great personal risk are working to rid the country of mines. Look at this report.
Landmines are a contemporary curse, perhaps one of the most dangerous and coward weapons men have ever made. These instruments of death have a life of their own. When wars get over, soldiers go back to their houses, but landmines stay for months, years, decades, and they never stop killing innocent lives. Afghanistan has seen 4 decades of war. Every single army or insurgent group who crossed this land abandoned landmines.
These mines actually was imported to Afghanistan during different stages of war, during Russian occupation and during internal civil war in Afghanistan. There are different type of mines was imported. Chinese mines, Indian mines, Russian mines. Most of the mines are Russian.
But the country refused to passively watch its people blow up and started, with the United Nations support, the largest mine action program in the world. The Mines Detection Center, or MDC, is the major actor on the ground.
At the beginning, everybody was thinking that 2 or 3 generations will fight against mine. But fortunately, the Mine Action Program in Afghanistan, which consists of national and international NGOs, they were succeeded to clear mines in Afghanistan.
In the last 30 years, local and international deminers found and deactivated 2 million landmines, clearing nearly 75% of the entire country. This is one of Afghanistan's success stories, but the risk is not over. The United Nations say that every month 147 people die or lose their limbs stepping on landmines. This man, once a soldier, is one of the survivors. India is one of the largest landmines producer in the world and used to sell mines who ended up in Afghanistan. But it seems that now things have changed.
India sent during Soviet occupation, there were a lot of Indian mines in those days. Not only India, it was Chinese, Russian, Pakistanis, Iranian mine also. But during the recent years, we have no witness or evidence of any explosive coming from India.
Children in rural areas are affected the most. Young shepherds walk for kilometers with their sheep and often they step on landmines. This industry of death has tools for every single purpose.
It's anti-personnel mines, Russians. When he explode the mines, it's all of them.
Shrapnel.
Yeah, shrapnel. Russian mines, Russian mines, Russian mines, Italian mines, Pakistani mines, Italians. It's all of them are pressure mines.
Okay.
Yeah. When put a pressure of the mines, explode the mine and damage the cars.
There are even airborne mines resembling toys, the deadliest for children. They explode as soon as they touch them. Afghanistan is training excellent dogs, which are now helping many other countries. Every dog has only one single handler. Risk make them friends forever.
At the moment, as we have less projects, we have less number of dogs. We have about 70 dogs, and last year we sent dogs to Azerbaijan and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also last month we sent dogs with experts and trainers to Sudan and also to Tajikistan in 2008, 9 and 10.
They train every day, they run on the field, and as soon as they find a landmine they stop and sit. Then deminers start their job. They isolate the area, localize the mine, they excavate it without removing it, and when they have cleared the entire place, they blow all the mines.
We talking with the government people, after then to the elders of the village, and he showed the area to the demining teams. And this area have mine exploded above the ship and car in another one.
These dogs are also trained to identify improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, which are often placed underneath vehicles.
But this is a main problem in Afghanistan right now, even more than previous mines and previous UXOs. So IEDs are very dangerous, and last week you saw that in Wazir-Akhbar-Khan happened, and also in other places like in Khost and in Jalalabad. IED problem is a main problem.
But managing explosives is a risky job, and the staff on the ground is also prone to militant attacks, as it happens to this MDC team.
The Afghan Mines Detection Center is an internationally renowned institution. They train dogs in order to find mines, and then they send these dogs everywhere in the world. In more than 3 decades, they were able to clear more than 75% of the landmines active in the country. But unfortunately, right now, this institution is suffering because of a lack of international fundings and support. But mines are still here and keeps killing every day in Afghanistan. Daniele Pagani from Kabul for WION. But there is a problem in the Afghan narrative, as it is the case with every war-torn country. The world talks only about the dark side, with the hopes and energies of its people, their positive stories, becoming just a secondary element. And that's wrong. It is an underrepresentation serving almost always political purposes. This is what we could call the danger of a single story, one single perspective which flattens everything. Afghanistan now has many domestic and international flights. Their national cricket team has attained test status, and young generations are more and more exposed to the world and are reclaiming their space. In Kabul, for instance, I met up with an all-women football club trying very hard to prove that they are as good as men. There is a TV channel by women, for women, called Zan TV, and this is not easy. It is not easy for a woman to be seen on television in a country where the majority of women cannot step out of their homes unless in a burqa and accompanied by a male relative. Let's have a look at these brave ladies.
Afghanistan is no country for women, and it is not a stereotype. It takes just one day around the streets of Kabul to understand it. Shops, squares, markets, men dominate the entire public space. With thousands of cases a year, domestic violence is the norm. True, it happens also to find women working in NGOs, hospitals and government offices, but it is still an astonishing minority and mostly located in the big cities. Zan TV is a brave experiment, a TV channel thought for women by women. 60 brave ladies work here and are trying hard to change the country's mindset. Even some of the furniture is breaking stereotypes in Zan TV.
This channel has been established to achieve more justice. We want a just society. We want the same rights as men. We want to be allowed to work together with our brothers to contribute in making our society more open-minded.
Zan TV is the brainchild of the media entrepreneur Hamid Samara, who thought it was now time to start breaking gender barriers.
And this project that we started at the first time in Afghanistan, that should have a more focused on the society problems that the women face to face on a daily basis. In the last 16 years, the international communities and also a lot of other NGOs, they did so many things for the women, but unfortunately nothing was sustainable. This is why these ideas come true to our mind. We said, let's see if we can just make a TV, and it will be like a useful TV for the women, that they can actually put their ability.
Zan means woman. The channel aims at providing a chance to all those women who do not want to live in submission all their life. The large majority of women in Afghanistan are confined within their houses. They can leave the domestic walls only if a close male relative accompanies them.
Women do not have a job. They have many problems in our society. When they are working in office, they often get harassed by men colleagues. We are trying to highlight these problems to show them to the people. Women have the ability to work outside. They are not made to stay within 4 walls. They can go out, they have to work with their brothers and show them their abilities. We can work out of our house.
But women inside their houses have a television, and reaching them, speaking about their problems and issues is what Zan TV reporters hope to do.
I came here to show and report about women's problem, and I would like to solve those problems. I would like to reach all women's ears. When I come in the morning, I prepare reports, then we start recording for TV, then we air it. We select the news which are more relevant to women.
There is all the energy of a new generation of Afghans in the women working at Zan TV, a generation which is more exposed to the world, willing to fight for their rights.
Afghanistan is my homeland and I respect it. But beside this, I know that we have to build it by ourselves. We have to work a lot. We have faced discrimination against each other. Our problem is discrimination between genders, tribes, ethnic groups. We must put all of this behind and think more about how to build our homeland.
The road is steep and long though. Zan TV needs investors to win its space in a crowded media arena. But the real challenge perhaps is to cross Kabul's boundaries. The Afghan aspirational educated middle class is mainly an urban phenomenon with a very little footprint in a rural country still made of villages and ruled by old traditions.
It is the first time in the history of the country that many young women gather in order to understand what is going on in their own country and to deliver news to a large audience. This is undeniably a sign of how times are changing in Afghanistan, where a young generation is becoming more and more open and aspirational. Daniele Pagani from Kabul for WION. Unfortunately, such positive experiences are still limited to the big cities. They are yet to penetrate the countryside. Their voices need more space, and it is on these very experiences and energies that the international community should focus. Afghanistan is a country with tremendous potential, and war is an obstacle on the path to peace. Military winning the war is perhaps impossible. The only way to bring peace to Afghanistan is a delicate, difficult and painful national dialogue, and then followed by a process of reconciliation. Thanks for watching.